good start. Welcome to RTO with Iain. Welcome to Marathon Wednesday. And again, we've got another viewer's request. I can't remember who it is. There's so many requests these days. Someone actually give me a list of 3. So this is another one of this person's Black Sabbath. Okay, Black Sabbath formed in 1968 by Tony Iommi and Bill Ward. Then Terry Geezer Butler joined them, and a certain John Ozzy Osbourne joined them. They've been often cited, as we know, as pioneers of heavy metal music. They first had a name called Earth, but they changed the name because there was another band called Earth, and they got accidentally booked for a wrong gig and the wrong sort of music. If you've read the Tony Iommi and Ozzy Osbourne, there was a bit of a mix-up there. So whether they rehearsed across the road, there was a film on called Black Sabbath, starring Boris Karloff. So they changed the name to Black Sabbath. They made 19 studio albums in all. They became a bit of who's in and who's out of Black Sabbath during the middle period. So we'll have a look at these 19 albums. Okay, before we start, I like the majority of the Black Sabbath albums. There's some that I'm not keen on as much as the others. They've all got good songs on, so if your favourite's near the bottom, again, you know, that's not that. You've got your list, I've got mine. And as we keep saying, if you go on any ranking album channel, it's these and how we hear it. So this is just how I look at Black Sabbath. Okay then, let's get started. So coming in at number 19, we have the 8th album, released in 1978, Never Say Die, and this would be the last studio album to feature Ozzy until 2013. So on this we've got what I call the classic lineup: Tony Iommi, Ozzy Osbourne, Geezer Butler and Bill Ward. Okay, the first track is the title track, Never Say Die. I like this track, it's pretty good track. Great drumming on from Bill Ward as ever, and even Ozzy sounds pretty decent on this track. Johnny Blade, oh dear, awful track. I just don't like it. Junior's Eyes, it's alright, it's not brilliant though. Hard Road, like this, it's got a catchy riff. It's probably one of the best tracks on the album. Shockwave, this is a song of a band that's falling apart at the seams. It's just not very good. Air Dance, they're starting to do jazz fusion. I mean, I don't know what's going on here. Very, very sad to see Black Sabbath reduced to doing mediocre tracks like this. Over to You, promising start, great Tony Iommi riff in this, and then it goes off into some jazz spinal tap fusion thing and it just doesn't work. Breakout is an instrumental, it's just a pile of crap. I'm sorry. Black Sabbath doing jazz? No. Swinging the Chain. What can you say about this? Well, it's got a good guitar riff, and that's all I can say really. I mean, Bill Ward singing? No. Play the drums. That's all that's what you're there for, not to sing. Okay, this album is definitely of a band that's imploding. Got a couple of good songs on, but you know, I don't play this very often. I just find it bizarre, and it annoys me because this is one of the greatest metal bands of all time, and what a load of rubbish. But I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 4 out of 10 for the few tracks that are pretty good. Okay, then coming in at number 18, we have the 18th album released in 1995, Forbidden. This recording saw the reunion of the Black Sabbath, the TYR era from the 90s, with featured Neil Murray and Cozy Powell, so the full lineup. And this was also the last album that featured Tony Martin on vocals and Jeff Nichols on the keyboards. So we had Tony Iommi on guitars, Tony Martin on the vocals, Cozy Powell drums, Neil Murray bass, Jeff Nichols keyboards. First track. Yes, it's that famous track called Illusion of Power featuring Ice-T. Yeah. Up until the moment Ice-T starts rapping, it isn't too bad, but then I switch off because it's absolutely abysmal. We don't want to hear rapping on a Black Sabbath track. Second track is called Get a Grip. This song's pretty ordinary, there's nothing good about it. Can't Get Close Enough, this isn't too bad. It's got some great little riffs from Tony. Shaking the Chains, it just meanders along at a pace of someone in a hurry. Don't like it at all. I Won't Cry For You. Now we've got Black Sabbath doing power ballads. No, it doesn't work. Guilty as Hell. I don't mind this one. It's actually got a decent riff in it. Proper Black Sabbath riff. Sick and Tired. Again, great riff at the start, but the arrangement is just, oh dear. Rusty Angels. Listenable, but it's not the best track. Forbidden, bog standard rock track really. Kiss of Death. No. Great vocal from Tony, and that's about it. Tony Martin, that is, of course. But it's nothing special. Okay, this is a pretty average album. Highlights for me is Tony Martin's vocals and great drumming from Mr. Powell, and that's the only thing I can really say about this album. I don't play this very often either. I did pop it on to do this ranking, and oh dear, it was painful to listen to this album. It has got a couple of highlights, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 4.5. Okay, coming in at number 17, we have the 7th album, released in 1976, Technical Ecstasy. This may shock a lot of people, but it has its reasons for me for being this low down. It's got some good tracks on it, and it's got some bad tracks. So this is the classic lineup of Tony Iommi, Ozzy Osbourne, Geezer Butler and Bill Ward. First track, Backstreet Kids. Very ordinary. It's got nothing that goes, yeah, this is Black Sabbath. It's just ordinary. You Won't Change Me. Again, a really good track. It's half decent. It's alright. Oh, Bill Ward singing again. Bill, you're a drummer. You're a great drummer. Clever drummer. You're not a clever singer. Gypsy. I think this sounds more like a track that Alice Cooper would have done than Black Sabbath. It's not too bad though. I can listen to that one. All Moving Parts. the wheels are definitely coming off this band. It's just dire rubbish. Rock and Roll Doctor. Ozzy's voice is strained. He's shouting more than singing. It's a shame. I've just listened to the remaster. It doesn't improve the album, I'm afraid. She's Gone. Strings. Orchestral. No. Then we get Dirty Women, which is a brilliant track. This is Black Sabbath of old. The great riffs and a decent vocal from Ozzy. As I said again, a band that's going through turmoil. And if you've read the books again, you can understand. Ozzy wasn't happy. He was. I mean, this is where he was walking around with a T-shirt with the Blizzard of Oz on. It's a pretty mediocre album again. But I'll give it an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10 because it is a little bit better than the previous two. Okay, then coming in at number 16, we have the 13th album, released in 1987, The Eternal Idol. It's the first album to feature Tony Martin. I've got quite an interesting lineup on here. Got Tony Martin on vocals, Tony Iommi on guitar, Eric Singer, who's now with Kiss, Bob Daisley on bass, Jeff Nichols on keyboards. The first track, The Shining. I love this track. Great rock track, some great riffs, great vocal from Tony Martin. Ancient Warrior. It's a good rock track, but I wouldn't say it's Black Sabbath track, if you get what I mean. It's a good track, I like it, but you know, when you listen to it, you wouldn't think it was Black Sabbath. Hard Life to Love. Another great solid rock track, but it's not, to me, Black Sabbath. It hasn't got any of them distinctive Tony Iommi riffs on it. Glory Ride. Nice guitar solo from Tony on this, pretty good. Born to Lose. This is more Black Sabbath. It's got that belting riff roaring along. Great solo as well. Nightmare. It's not too bad. Scarlet Pimpernel, it's a little instrumental. You know, Tony is a good guitar player, it's a little bit. Lost Forever. Yeah, this is back to that Black Sabbath signature sound. Pretty good. Eternal Idol. It's a very good track. Do like that track as well. Okay, this is not a bad album. It's a pretty good first outing for Tony Martin, but I don't think it's heavy enough for a Black Sabbath album. It's a very enjoyable album, but it doesn't sound Black Sabbath to me. Doesn't, when you put it on, it doesn't ring out, oh, this is a Black Sabbath album. But I do like the album. So I'll give it an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay then, coming in at number 15, we have the 15th album released in 1990, TYR. This featured Tony Iommi, Cozy Powell, Tony Martin, Neil Murray and Jeff Nichols. First track, Anno Mundi. Love this track. This is proper riffy, dirty, evilly sounding Black Sabbath, and a great vocal from Tony Martin. He is he's a very underrated singer in this band. He's a very good singer because he on stage he can sing Dio songs, he can sing Ozzy songs. They're really good, and he does great versions. Then we get the Lawmaker, fast heavy metal track, great solo from Tony Iommi. Jerusalem, solid track, nothing wrong with this one. Some excellent drumming from Cozy Powell on that one. The Sabbath Stones, superb stuff from Neil Murray, one of the finest bass players in rock, and ripping riffs from Tony. We got the Battle of TYR. It's just like an intro to the next track. Odin's Court, gentle guitar, but what a vocal performance from Tony Martin. Then Valhalla, solid track again, some great riffs. Feels Good to Me. Don't like this. I just wish they'd stop doing ballads. They're not a ballad band, they're a heavy metal band. Heaven in Black, more of those driving riffs from Tony Iommi, the king of the riffs. Great drumming from Cozy as ever, and a great vocal from Tony Martin. This is a very solid album, got some great tracks on it. It's a good, hard, heavy album as well. And I'll give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 14, we have the 17th album, released in 1994, Cross Purposes. This is the album after the Dehumanizer. We know we got Ronnie James Dio and Vinny Appice back, but they soon after this they departed, so they drafted back in Tony Martin and former drummer of Rainbow, Bobby Rondelli. Geezer Butler was back in the band by this time. So we'd got Tony Iommi on guitar, Geezer Butler on the bass, Bobby Rondelli on the drums, and keyboards was Jeff Nichols. Then I think they had a session bass player for this. Okay, first track, Eyewitness, great track. It's actually got a good bass line as well. Pretty good. Cross of Thorns, another good track. Great solo from Tony Iommi on this one. Psychophobia, really solid track again. Great vocals from Tony Martin, on fire with that one. Virtual Death, we have the classic Geezer Butler bass line on here, very strong. Really good track. Some great drumming from Bobby Rondelli on that one, a very versatile drummer as well. Immaculate Deception, not too bad. It's not the best track on the album, but it's listenable. Dying for Love, here we go, another power ballad. The less we say about that, the better. Back to Eden, still, it's alright I suppose. It's not the best track on the album. The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, another power ballad. Cardinal Sin, nice riffs in this. Some great keyboards from Jeff Nichols. What a servant. Sadly no longer with us. He was a great servant to Black Sabbath. Always the unknown man, but eventually he got the recognition he deserved. Then we get Evil Eye. More classic riffs from Mr. Iommi, pretty good. Another solid album, the Tony Martin era Black Sabbath, very underrated, got some very good tracks on the album, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay then, moving on to number 13. We have the 19th and final studio album by Black Sabbath, just called 13, released in 2013. It was the first studio album since Never Say Die that we've had Ozzy Osbourne, and the first time that Geezer Butler had been on since Cross Purposes. So we'd got Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and doing the drums, because Bill Ward didn't do this, was Brad Wilk. First track, End of the Beginning. The classic Tony Iommi evil riff. Great bass again from Geezer Butler, of course, and Ozzy sounds pretty good on this. Excellent, in fact. Although there's probably more tweaks with his voice than anything. God Is Dead, solid track. Excellent bass again from Geezer. Loner, that's all right. Not my particular favourite off the album for me. Then we get Zeitgeist. This is weird. It reminds me of Planet of Caravan, but I'm not keen on that either. So, Age of Reason. It's a good track, but it goes on far too long, and I sort of lose interest halfway through it. Live Forever, great tune. Probably the best one on the album. Although Ozzy's voice is a little strained in places, it's still a solid track. Damaged Soul, another good track that goes on 2 or 3 minutes too long. Dear Father, although this is long, it's a pretty good track. Methodemic, again, I love the bass line from Geezer, fantastic. Peace of Mind, good old fashioned Black Sabbath track here. Everyone's doing a fine performance on that. Pariah, it's alright, pretty solid. It's a reasonable album. They tried to capture the glory days, I suppose. I don't dislike this album, but there are better ones. Great performance on the drums though by Brad Wilk. You know, he did a solid job, but I do think that Ozzy's voice has really strained, and and I don't mean this in a bad way. I think he can't do this sort of music like he did in the 70s. But it was a nice way to end the career, better than leaving Unforbidden. It sort of brought a little bit of pride back in the band. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 12, we have the 16th album, released in 1992, Dehumanizer. We're back to the Ronnie James Dio era of Black Sabbath. So we've got Geezer Butler, Ronnie James Dio, Tony Iommi and Vinny Appice, and Jeff Nichols on the keyboards. Computer God, great track. Ronnie's sounding as solid as ever. After All, The Dead, it's not too bad. TV Crimes, great track. Got the Neon Nights feel to this one. Great drumming from Vinny, and Ronnie James Dio again on fire. Then we get Letters from Earth, very solid track, some great riffs from Tony Iommi, awesome stuff. Master of Insanity, it's okay, but I think it's one of the weaker songs on this album. Time Machine, bit too commercial. I think it was featured in Wayne's World 2. I think that's what they were going for, that sort of, single type thing. It's okay, but not for me. I do like the bass line though from Geezer. Sins of the Father, it's okay, a little bit generic. Too Late, solid track, nothing wrong with that one. And then we get I love this, one of my favourite tracks from the Ronnie James Dio era of Black Sabbath. Awesome singing, cool riffs, it's great live as well. Brilliant track. Buried Alive, we got them driving riffs here, good bass line again, pretty solid way to end the album. This is a very good album. but I would say it's probably, of the 4 albums, and I'm including The Devil You Know in this, it's probably the weakest of the 4 albums that Ronnie James Dio did with Black Sabbath, stroke Heaven and Hell. It's still a good album though, so I'll give it an RTO ranking of 8.2. Okay then, coming in at number 11 then, we have the 14th album, released in 1989, second to feature Tony Martin, and it was the first album to feature Cozy Powell. And another session bass player, and a guest star on this one. We're talking about the Headless Cross, of course. So we got Tony Iommi, Cozy Powell, Tony Martin, Jeff Nichols, and Lawrence Cottle on the bass. Gates of Hell. It's an instrumental, just one of them classic sort of sounding intros to a heavy rock metal thing. Really good. Nice keyboards from Jeff. Awesome. Goes straight into the Headless Cross. Even the 80s production couldn't stop Cozy. His drumming is awesome. I don't think he wouldn't have wanted to sound clean. Great track, favourite track on the album. Then we get Devil and Daughter, another great track. Love this track. Great vocal from Tony Martin. Then we get When Death Calls, featuring a guitar solo by the one and only Brian May. Awesome track this is. Brian does the first guitar solo on here. You can tell it's Brian. Proves he can play rock, slow stuff, and heavy metal. Great track. Kill in the Spirit World, very radio friendly, but it's a good track. Call of the Wild, again a little bit radio friendly, but it's okay. Then we get a track called Black Moon. Now this is a track that's from the Eternal Idol sessions, when Ray Gillan was going to do the album, but when it came out it was Tony Martin. This track actually features on the remaster of Eternal Idol, but this is the best version I've got of this. It's a pretty good track. Nightwing, not what I call a Black Sabbath track, but it's a very good track. Cloak and Dagger, it's alright, bit bluesy, but a great vocal from Tony Martin. This is the best Black Sabbath album that Tony Martin did with Black Sabbath. It's got a more heavy feel to it, although there's a couple of more commercial ones on it. It's still a good album with some great riffs from Tony. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.4. Okay, we've reached the top 10. Okay then, coming in at number 10, we have the 11th album, released in 1983. The only album to feature Ian Gillan, and it was the last album for 9 years to feature Geezer Butler, and this is the last album that Bill Ward drummed on. It's Born Again. A lot of people don't like this. I do. I think it's a good album. So we've got Ian Gillan, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward, and there's a little bit of keyboard from Jeff Nichols as ever. First track, Trashed. Heavy. This is heavy. Ian Gillan screeching on this is just amazing. Absolutely amazing track. Stonehenge, that little instrumental thing, great keyboards from Jeff Nichols, pretty cool. Disturbing the Priest, solid track, good bass line on that one. The Dark is just lots of noise effects really. Let me get my favourite track, Zero the Hero. Again, great driving bass line from Geezer. Drumming from Bill Ward on this is just top draw. And an amazing vocal from Ian Gillan, absolutely out the top drawer. Then we get Digital Bridge, another great song. Screaming from Gillan is fantastic. Hard, heavy, really good. Born Again, it's a good track, but what I think makes this say it's the production on it. It's not very good at all. Hotline, another stonking track. The vocal from Gillan is brilliant. Keep It Warm though is probably the second weakest track on the album. Not keen on that one. Okay, a lot of people don't like this album. I think it's got some really good tracks on it. When you've got one of the best guitarists in heavy metal and one of the greatest singers in rock on an album, you're going to have good. But what lets this down is actually the production. This needs to be remastered completely. Get rid of that 80s sound, because there's some very, very strong tracks on here. I do play this a lot because I really enjoy it. You got the Stalwart, so it's not a Sabbath album. Well, it is, and it's a good album. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay then, coming in at number 9, we have the 6th album, released in 1975, Sabotage. So we're back to the classic lineup of Ozzy, Tony, Geezer and Bill. First track, Hole in the Sky, love this track. Great riffs, great drumming from Bill. Pretty cool. Then we get a little instrumental, little ditty called Don't Start Too Late. I think this is Tony Iommi having a bit of fun with his guitar. Next track, the classic Symptom of the Universe. Awesome. That driving bass line from Geezer Butler, the pounding drums from Bill Ward, and a fantastic vocal from Mr. Osborne. One of my favourite tracks by Black Sabbath. Then we get Megalomania. Long, too long. Although it has got some great riffs in it, it's just far too long. I like it, but it's just long. Thrill of It All, not too bad. It's not the best track on the album though. Superstar, oh dear. Choral choir in a Black Sabbath song. No, it has got an interesting riff though. Am I Going Insane? That's not a bad track. Like the lyrics in this, that's pretty good. And then we get the brilliant The Writ. Love this track. Some great riffs in this. Great drumming from Bill. Super track. I would say this is probably the last real good album from the classic lineup. Although the wheels are starting to fall off in parts, it's still got fantastic moments on this album. An album that I do enjoy. And I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.7. Okay then, coming in at number 8, we have the 10th album, released in 1981, Mob Rules. It'll be the last time that Vinnie and Ronnie would appear until 1992's Dehumanizer. So we've got Ronnie James Dio on the vocals, Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, Vinnie Appice and Jeff Nichols on the keyboards. First track, Turn Up the Night, classic track, one of them great driving Black Sabbath tracks again. Great vocal from Ronnie James Dio again. Then we get Voodoo. Again, great guitar riffs in this, and the solo in this is just awesome. Then we get the brilliant The Sign of the Southern Cross. Classic track from this lineup. Awesome. Then we get E5150. I'm sure this was only put on as a little to open up shows, and there's a little pre-thing to the next track, The Mob Rules. Classic track. One of my favourites. Great vocal, from Ronnie, of course, and them driving riffs from Tony Iommi. Then we get Country Girl. Now, I've never been a fan of this. To be quite honest, it sounds more like a track that Elf would have done. To be quite honest. It's more of an Elf track than a Black Sabbath. Slipping Away, really solid track. Got some great riffs on that one again. Falling Off the Edge of the World, again a solid track. Then we got Over and Over, It's Okay. It's a solid album, got some very, very good tracks, but it's not the best album from the Dio years. It's still good though. It's good enough to get an RTO ranking of 8.8. Okay, this is going to be controversial for some people, I think. My number 7 is the 12th album, released in 1986. The Seventh Star. Now, I'm sure everybody knows the story of this. This was never supposed to be a Black Sabbath album. This is a Tony Iommi solo album. But as ever, you had pressures from Warner Brothers and a band manager called Don Arden, Sharon Osbourne's dad. To me, it's probably one of the nastiest managers in rock history. He was more of a gangster than a manager. Never liked the man. And he basically said that this has got to be a Black Sabbath album. We're talking about the Seventh Star, of course. Got a good lineup on it though. We've got Tony Iommi on guitar, Glenn Hughes on the vocals, Dave Spitz guitar, Eric Singer drums, and Jeff Nichols on keyboards, and Gordon Coakley plays on one track, No Stranger to Love. So it's not a Black Sabbath album, but boy is it a great album. First track, In for the Kill. Oh, belting song. What a vocal performance from Glenn Hughes. Surely one of the greatest singers in rock. Great guitar solo on that. No Stranger to Love. Jeff Nichols' keyboards in this are brilliant. Okay, it's a love ballad thing, but it's a good track. Turn to Stone. Great track. Dynamite vocals from Glenn Hughes. Sphinx is a little keyboard thing from Jeff, pretty cool. Seventh Star, the title track, awesome. Great riffs. Danger Zone, one of the weaker tracks on the album. Very radio friendly, but a terrific vocal from Glenn Hughes. Heart Like a Wheel, great blues rocker, another great guitar solo from Tony Iommi. Angry Heart, belting riff again, Glenn's on fire. And In Memory, sounds great. What makes this good though is Glenn. Okay, a lot of ardent Sabbath fans out there, I know you don't think this is an album, but it is. I hate, as I said, a certain Don Arden's a bit of an arse, but he had a good lineup, and Glenn Hughes is superb on this. Considering what he was going through, he had his own little concerns and issues, but he puts a driving performance on this, and it's just pretty sad that he couldn't go out and tour with this album, because it would have been pretty good. That's when they got Ray Gillan in to stand in for him. But it is a great album, and I like it. I take away that it's not Black Sabbath. It's Black Sabbath, but it's still a great album. And I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.9. Okay then, coming in at number 6, I got the 5th album from 1973, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Classic lineup. Ozzy, Tony, Geezer and Bill. Interesting personnel on this. Rick Wakeman appears on one track and the Phantom Fiddlers is on another. Yeah, Rick Wakeman played on a Black Sabbath track. Yay! Well, he's friends with Tony Iommi, so makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, first track, of course, is the classic Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and driving riffs. But my favourite bit of this song is that middle bit when you've got that driving riff and the drums. Terrific stuff. A natural acrobat. Okay, there's lots of overdubbing on the guitar bits, but it's brilliant. Great track. Then we get Fluff, which is an instrumental, of course. It's quite a nice track, but I think it'd be more fitting on a Pink Floyd album or an early Genesis, to be quite honest. I do like it though. Okay, we've now got the track that features Mr. Rick Wakeman, Cadabra. I like this track. I love Ozzy's vocal on this. Excellent. Then we get Killing Yourself to Live. Love Tony Iommi's guitar on this. Absolutely brilliant. Who Are You? I like this track, but I don't think it fits this album. There's lots of keyboards, so this is more space rock, but it's pretty enjoyable. Looking for Today. Oh, this sounds more like I don't know what they were thinking, but it sounds more like a moody blues track. I'm half expecting Justin Hayward to start singing on this. It's a good track though. Spiral Architect. Great track. It's got little bits of moody blues in here again, but it's a really good track. This is a great album. Got traditional Black Sabbath rockers, a little bit of experimentation, but a very good album, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 5 we have the self-titled debut album from 1970, Black Sabbath. Got the classic lineup on here of Tony, Geezer, Bill and Ozzy. Opens up with the classy Black Sabbath, that opening riff and the bells. Awesome. What more can you say about that track? We all know what it's like and we all love it. I love that bass towards the end when it speeds up. Awesome. The Wizard, another classic track with that eerie harmonica start from Ozzy. Bill coming on the drums. Good little track. Behind the Wall of Sleep, the interplay between Geezer and Tony on this is brilliant, and I love the drumming from Bill on this. Then we got again one of my favourite tracks of all time from Black Sabbath, NIB. I just love that funky bass line at the start and the driving riff all the way through this song. Awesome. Then we get a cover track, Evil Woman, band called Crow, and it's one of them songs that actually sounds better than the original. Great version of that. Love that track. Sleeping Village, not typically one of my favourite tracks off the album, pretty weak for me. Warning, this is just an amazing piece of blues rock, I think. Great bass line, terrific guitar work from Tony. Okay, this is always considered probably the first heavy metal album ever. It is an amazing album, and I'll give it an RTO ranking of 9.2. Okay then, coming in at number 4, we've got the second album, released in 1970 again, Paranoid. Opens up with another classic, of course, War Pigs. Love that riff. Love the guitar solo in it, and Ozzy's vocal is brilliant on this. Awesome track. Then we get the overplayed track called Paranoid, the track that they put on at the end because they needed to fill the album. Paranoid, I think it's a great track, but if I don't hear it again, I'm not going to get upset. But I won't take away that it's a pretty iconic track. Planet Caravan? No. It's more like King Crimson or Camel or Gentle Giant sort of track, not a Black Sabbath track. Not my favourite track on the album. Then we get Iron Man, another classic track. The highlight for this track, of course, is the end bit with Geezer Butler's bass line. Bill picks up the pace. Awesome. Great riffs as well. Electric Funeral. Awesome. Great drumming from Bill Ward. Great. The interplay between Bill and Geezer in this is fantastic. Then we get my favourite track on the album, Hand of Doom. I just love that bass line, drives the song, and then Tony comes up with some great riffs on this solid track. Rat Salad. This is Black Sabbath's version of Moby Dick. Great drumming. And the album ends with the brilliant Fairy Wear Boots. What I like about this it's the solo is just unbelievable. It's an awesome album, Paranoid. It's basically a mini greatest hits album on its own, and I don't get tired of playing this one because it is absolutely unbelievable. And I will give this an RTO ranking of 9.3. Okay then, coming in at number 3, we have the third album, released in 1971, Master of Reality. Classic lineup. First track, Sweet Leaf. Starts off with that then that great riff to start the track. You get that solid drum from Bill. Then he goes mental a bit, doesn't it? It really goes off on one in the middle, and then it goes straight back into that slow stuff. Absolutely amazing. Great. After Forever, again, I love the change of tempo all the way through this. Slows up and down all the way through, and Bill doesn't miss a beat. Great track. Embryo, that little bit of guitar that goes into my favourite Black Sabbath track of all time, Children of the Grave. I just love that opening. That's what heavy metal's all about. Amazing vocal from Ozzy on that as well. Then we get Orchid. Solid track again. Little bit of classical music from Tony Iommi that even Steve Hackett would have been proud of, I think. Love Lord of This World. It's got one of them eerie Tony Iommi doom riffs on it. Awesome. All the way through this track you got that doom riff. Great vocal from Ozzy on that as well. Solitude, one of the slower tracks that I really love by Black Sabbath. And the album ends up again with the most brilliant Mental Black, Into the Void, that's it. Great track. Love the opening riffs. Probably the best one to any Black Sabbath song. That deep bass line again, and then some frantic drumming from Bill. Fantastic. More classic Black Sabbath here. Not a bad track on the album. Top to bottom, solid as you like. So I'll give it an RTO ranking of 9.4. Okay then, coming in at number 2, we're getting to the top albums. So number 2, we go to the 9th album, released in 1980, Heaven and Hell. First to feature Ronnie James Dio. So the lineup was Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward, Ronnie James Dio, and Jeff Nichols. This was his first appearance as a guest on a Black Sabbath album. First track, of course, opens up with the brilliant Neon Nights. What a way to Ronnie to announce his work with Black Sabbath. Awesome track, one of the great opening tracks of a Black Sabbath album. Children of the Sea. I just love that gentle start and then boom, 100 miles an hour riffs. Great stuff. Lady Evil, one of Geezer Butler's great bass lines again. Some really strong riffs from Tony. Great track. Then of course we get the classic Heaven and Hell. My second favourite track by Black Sabbath. I just love Geezer's bass line all the way through. Tony is on fire on the guitar. Great vocal from Ronnie, one of his finest performances, and Bill Ward's drumming again is brilliant. Wish Him Well, one of the weaker tracks on the album, but it's still good. Then we get a brilliant track, Die Young. Jeff Nichols, what a way to introduce yourself to Black Sabbath. Fine keyboard work and one of the best opening guitar solos from Tony Iommi. Great track, awesome song. I actually got this on single when it came out. It's brilliant. Walk Away, it's probably the only track on the album I'm not keen on actually. Lonely Is the World, I think this has got one of the best guitar solos on that Tony Iommi never did. It's just a great track. This album, I would say, revitalised Black Sabbath. It's a classic without a doubt. Great tracks, great anthems, great singing from Ronnie, and it still remains the best album that Ronnie James Dio did with Black Sabbath. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.5. Okay, my number 1 album, and it's been my number 1 album for a long time. It's the 4th album, released in 72, and it's simply called Volume 4. First track is Wheels of Confusion. Again, one of the best guitar solos that Tony ever did. It's just great riff to start off with. What a way to start the album. Awesome. It's long but it's solid and I love that track. Tomorrow's Dream, again more driving riffs. The drumming on this from Bill is fantastic. Ozzy is on fire. His vocals are just awesome on that track. Then we get the controversial changes. I think this is one you either like it or you don't. Now I like it. I think it's a great lyric. Very sad song. I love the piano on this. It's a really good track, but I didn't like the version he did with Kelly, because she can't sing. I don't care what anyone says, she can't sing. So I like the track. Then we get the little instrumental effects. It's just, I think it's an intro to the next track, that's all, because the next track is the Brilliant Supernaut. Love the riffing on this. Ferocious drumming again from Bill, awesome. I love how he keeps that tempo changing from fast to slow. He's one of the tightest drummers in the business, or he was at his peak. Absolutely brilliant. Then we get Snowblind. We all know what this is about. Great track though. Again, great drumming from Bill. Bass line from Geezer is awesome. One of my favourite tracks. Then we get Cornucopia. I just love that dreary, evil riff from Tony. Oh dear. From the minute you hear it, it's evil all the way through. Great track. Then we get the instrumental Laguna Sunrise. It's a very nice piece of music. Just breaks up the album a little bit, I think. It's a bit genteel, a bit pastiche, but I like it. Then we get St. Vitus Dance. Probably the weakest track on the album. It's not a brilliant track. But then we get my favourite track on the album, the Brilliant Under the Sun. Awesome. I love this track to death. I just love the riffs, Ozzy's singing. Classic Black Sabbath. I think this was the best album this lineup did as well. They were at their peak. I think this has got some of Ozzy's greatest vocals in Black Sabbath. His voice was on fire on this album, absolutely mind-blowing in places. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.6. Didn't get a 10 today because there are a couple of bits that I don't think need to be on this album. That little instrumental bit and St. Vitus Dance is probably not brilliant either. But on the whole, it remains my favourite Black Sabbath album. Okay then, well that's all for today. Got lots to do today. I'm actually going to go and get the keys to my new place today, so that's something to look forward to. But I'll be back tomorrow when we've got Then and Now, and tomorrow we are looking at the mighty Led Zeppelin. And also tomorrow is album artwork, and we're going to look at the huge artwork of Jean-Michel Jarre. There's over 40 album covers to look at. So I'll be back for that. So have a great day everyone, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Take care for now.